what is the loading phase of the hCG diet protocol? So today we're going to talk about what it is, how to do it, and also why we do it. So basically, in a little nutshell, the loading phase of hCG is that for 2 days, you eat higher than normal amounts of high-fat foods with the purpose of gaining weight while taking hCG at the same time. So let me repeat that. The loading phase on hCG typically is done for 2 days, where you eat more than normal that you would normally eat of higher fat foods with the purpose of gaining weight while taking hCG. And it's done right before you start the 500 calorie portion of the diet. Now, typically it is done for only 2 days in general. However, there are times when you might consider doing 3 days or more of loading, and I actually have an article that talks all about that, so I'm going to link to that in the blog post that goes with this discussion if you want to check that out to see if you're in that boat. But by and large, the vast majority do just fine loading for 2 days. As far as how to do it exactly, there's basically only 3 main rules, and there's like a 4th optional rule. So the 3 main rules are that you're going to be taking your hCG. If you're taking injections, most women anyway, end up on a dose of 125 IU or 150 IU. I have a very comprehensive article all about dosing, which I feel is extremely important to how you feel on the diet. It has a lot to do with whether you feel hungry or not, and as a result I also feel your weight loss. So please do check that out. I've linked to it in the blog post that goes with this discussion. So that first rule is that you're taking your hCG, and then the second rule is that you need to be eating high calorie, high fat foods for those 2 days. And the third thing is just that you weigh yourself daily. You know, most people track their weight on this protocol, and it's helpful to know how much weight that you gain loading. Now, the 4th optional rule is that those high fat foods that you eat while you load, that they also be low carb, and that is optional. So the traditional way of loading, like the Dr. Simeon's talked about in his protocol, Pounds and Inches, it involved basically kind of eating whatever you want with the focus on fats. And he mentioned things like milk chocolate, whipped cream, croissants, pastries, stuff like that. So you can certainly do that. However, I have discovered that loading for the hCG diet in a way that I would call clean or low carb was very beneficial to me, and it's what I did for my last 3 rounds. And if you want to know more about that and how to do it and why to do it, I have a whole article all on that in a video and podcast, and so I'll link to that in the discussion, so please do check that out. I have had a lot of good reports of people who had a rough time with hCG, and when they loaded clean the way I did my last 3 rounds, they had a much better experience. So I'm just throwing that out there. It's not something you have to do. It's optional, but can be very helpful in getting yourself and keeping yourself on the right path. So a lot of you might be wondering, well, how much should I eat exactly? Now, I did actually track how many calories and like the macros as far as carbs and fat grams and all that on my final round of hCG. So I'm glad I did that, because all my other rounds I didn't track it at all. But I did my final round, and so I'll actually have a picture here to show you guys of the stats from that round. I loaded for 2 days on my final round, and as you'll see there, between the 2 days combined, I ate a total of 8,000 calories, so about 4,000 calories each day, and 600 grams of fat. So that equaled about 300 grams of fat each day. And so you can see in the picture, or if you're listening to the podcast, again, you can just go to the blog post that goes with this, and you'll be able to see the picture on there as well. So, but that's what I did. So, for some people are really shocked by that, because, for a lot of women, you might be used to like a dieting mentality, and so when someone says to eat more than usual, you're just not sure like how much that is. And so it's not necessarily that you need to eat a certain number of calories or fat grams. This is just what mine ended up being when I was done. Basically, I think the main thing that you want to keep in mind is, yes, you do want to eat more than normal, but you don't need to eat so much that you make yourself like sick. What I find is once you start taking hCG, I feel full like almost right away. So I actually find loading difficult. Not everyone feels that way, but you can feel like you don't want to eat, and you do definitely need to eat higher fat foods, but it can feel like you don't want to. But again, don't make yourself like totally sick. So just have a balance there. But as you can see, 8,000 calories, 600 grams of fat, that's no joke, right? So, and I was definitely full, probably a bit uncomfortable. And by the time I woke up the third morning, I was totally ready to start the 500 calorie diet at that point, because I was like, oh, I still feel full. So that's what it felt like. Now, if you'll also see on that picture, my loading gain during those 2 days was 1.6 pounds. And if you're wondering about how much weight you'll likely gain loading and how long it'll take to lose it, I actually have a couple articles on that as well, which I will link to, so you can find those out. I'm trying to divide up the information I give you guys a little more. I find it very difficult because I like to be so thorough, and I like to talk about it all at once, but then the videos get to be so long, so I'm trying to split it up for you guys a little bit. So, just definitely check the blog post to find the links to those other topics. So anyway, I hope you guys found that helpful, and yeah, that's it. Okay, you guys, take care. Bye.